Hey guys, today we are going to talk about how to solve multi-step equations. So we've done one step and two step. Now multi-step means that it's going to have more than two steps. And so there's a different variety. There's not a set amount of steps that we're going to do. You just keep solving until you get the variable alone. So remember, our goal is to get the variable alone. Here's the steps that I want you to write down. Step number 1, combine constants. Just like we were doing with the two-step equations. Same thing, combine those constants. Step number 2, combine like terms. Like terms is something that we have already practiced, but now you need to combine them when they're on two different sides of the equal sign. Step number 3, get the variable alone. So you need to undo any of the operations that are in the way of having that variable be alone. Let's take a look at an example. For my first example, I have 6n minus 1 equals 4n minus 5. So step number 1, combine the constants. I notice that this minus 1 and this minus 5 are my constants. I can view this as a -1 and a -5. Always include the sign before it. Notice the 4 and the 6 don't have a plus or a minus before them, but I know that they're both positive. So I'm going to combine these. Now, normally you'd move the one that's closest to the variable, but in this case, they are both close to the variable, so it doesn't really matter. Choose whichever one that you want to move. Let's go ahead and move the 1. I'm going to plus 1 to both sides. We're just combining the constants. I know that this would equal 0, so I don't have it anymore. All that's left is the 6n. Bring down the equal sign. Bring down the 4n that we haven't used yet. And a -5 plus 1 gives me a -4, so minus 4. Now the next step is combine like terms. I know that 6n and 4n are like terms because they both have an n, and they both have just one n. So now I need to decide which one do I want to move. I know that either one I move, I'm going to have to subtract. It's easier to do 6 minus 4 than it is to do 4 minus 6, so I'm going to move the 4n. So since it's a positive 4n, to get it to the other side, I need to subtract it, because 4n minus 4n gives me 0. So I know that 0 is left over here, and I just bring down not a 4, but the -4 or a -4. 6n minus 4n gives me 2n. So whatever you do on this side, you have to do on the other side. We are moving that 4n to the other side. That's why it shows up both times. So now I'm left with this one-step equation, which I'm going to get the variable alone. You get the variable alone by undoing whatever operation you see. I see the 2 is in my way of getting n alone. This says 2 times n. So I know that the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide each side by 2. That's going to equal 1 to leave my n alone, because remember, we're moving the 2 to the other side. And -4 divided by 2 is going to be a -2. So n equals -2 is my final answer. For example number 2, I have 50 plus 30s equals 250 plus 10s. So step number 1 says we're going to combine the constants. I know that my constants are 50 and 250 because they are not connected to a variable. They stand alone. I know that I could really move either one, but think to yourself, which one would be easier to subtract from the other? Moving the 50 is going to be easier. So let's start with that. So since it's a positive 50, in order to move it to the other side, I need to do what's opposite of a positive 50, and that would be minus 50. 50 minus 50 gives me 0. Now I need to do it to the other side, which gives me 200. I need to bring down the 30s. I don't need to bring down the 0. I don't care about it. I need to bring down the plus 10s. So now my new problem is 30s equals 200 plus 10s. So step number 2, I need to combine like terms. 30s and 10s are like terms because they have the same variable, which is s. Now I'm going to combine them, and I'm going to move the 10s because, like I said, I thought about it, and it's easier for me to move the 10s than it is for me to move that 30s. So if it's a plus 10s, I do the opposite to move it. I do a minus 10s on both sides. We're moving it, so it needs to show up on both sides. All right, I'm gonna be left with 20s, bring down my equal sign, bring down that 200 because we haven't used it yet. And then 10s minus 10s is 0, so I can just ignore that part. Because remember, we moved it to the other side. 20s equals 200. What that means is I need to get the variable alone. I have 20 times s. The opposite of multiplication is division. So let's go ahead and divide by 20 on both sides. So that's one-step equation, which you guys are awesome at already if you're watching this video. So I know I'm left with s equals 10, because 200 divided by 20 is 10. So you end up with s equals 10. Make sure to pause the video, rewatch these steps, make sure that you have the steps written down and that you have the examples written down. Pause the video when needed, rewatch it with needed. And so that's all I have for you today are those 2 examples. So just remember those 3 steps. And like I said, sometimes it doesn't matter which way you move a number because they're both close to the variable, and you just ask yourself, well, which way is gonna be easiest for me? And do that. Don't make things hard on yourself. Don't make them harder than they have to be. Just do whichever one's easiest. And hopefully those examples helped you. And like I said, always watch the videos again. Make sure you pause during the examples and understand exactly what I'm doing so that when you do assignments yourself, you're right on track. See ya.